Welcome to Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out with Julie Coraccio. Every Tuesday at 1 p.m., Julie interviews experts on all areas of clutter: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Learn easy to implement tips on how to release clutter and get organized to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire. An award-winning professional organizer and coach, Julie also shares suggestions to help you live clutter-free for a more joyful and fulfilling life. Are you overwhelmed by clutter? Do you feel stuck in life? Are you ready to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire? Individual coaching and our unique clutter-free living mastermind support people in becoming free, moving forward, and achieving success. Learn more at reawakenyourbrilliance.com.
Hey everyone, we're going to open up the archives today. This was the very first episode of Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out that I ever did. I was just learning how to use Hangouts. I ended up hanging up on myself, if you can believe that. And so I quickly got back on Hangouts and recorded it. I got a lot of good feedback, and so I wanted to share it with you. And if you struggle with the term loving yourself, self-love, then I encourage you to replace it with kindness, because we can all benefit from being kind to ourselves. What I really want to talk about now is loving yourself. And there is a great quote. I'm a huge fan of the Indigo Girls, which might date me a little bit. I wonder if any of you have listened to them. When I was in college, they were my favorite band because I would sing that song, "Got my paper and I was free." Well, one of stanzas from Strange Fire, I used to sing this all the time, but usually when you're younger you might sing it but not really listen to the lyrics, and I really didn't understand the stanza until recently, but I want to share this with you. When you learn to love yourself, you will dissolve all the stones that are cast. You will learn to burn the icing sky and to melt the waxen mask. Yes, to have the gift of true release, this is a peace that will take you higher. I think that's such a great stanza. And to me, what they're talking about is, when you love yourself, you live your life. You follow your passion. You don't stop your passion because someone says, you can't make a living at it. Or, you know what, you're too tall to be a dancer, or whatever it may be. I want you to think about that and ask yourself, whose voice is that when you hear someone telling you that you can't do something? Because a lot of times, when we're kids, we're born perfect and life is groovy and we know we're these amazing beings, and then society happens, or our parents happen, or a teacher happens. I was telling someone the other day, I can recall to you what that teacher said to me in second grade that wasn't really nice. Now it doesn't affect me anymore, but I still remember it. And it's really important, if you're hearing a negative voice or says you're not good enough, dig deeper on that. Is it really your voice or is it someone else? So I want to talk about ways we don't love ourselves, because some of you that are listening might be like, you know what, of course I love myself. And it's not true. There are many ways we don't love ourselves, and I think some of them are more subtle than others. The first is, do you overeat? Do you drink too much? Do you spend too much? If you loved yourself, you wouldn't do that. And another thing I really want to emphasize at the beginning, there is no judgment here. My goal is that you figure something out, you have that aha moment, and to be gentle with yourself. Life is a process. I'm continuing to learn. I did a one-on-one mentorship program working on myself, and I'm still learning. I'm a layer like an onion. And so my suggestion is always just start somewhere. Just do something, because the present moment is the power of change. And as long as you're moving forward, you will be able to do something. So look in that area if that's a way that you don't love yourself. Another way we don't love ourselves is not following our heart or our passion or our soul, because we think we must do what our mom said or what others says we should do or society said we should do. This is the number one regret of the dying. I had a friend that was married to a man that didn't want to be a lawyer, but his parents said, you will be a lawyer. Went to law school right after college, got a job as an attorney, and then at some point in his 30s he said, enough, I don't want to be an attorney. And he found something that he was able to do that he loved, and he's able to support his family. And so I personally believe when you follow your heart, the income will follow. But very interesting, think about that. Are you doing something because your parents, your friends, your family, society said to you, this is what you must do. Again, think about that. That's the number one regret of the dying. How do you speak to yourself? A lot of times we speak harshly or negatively. That's something I've really had to monitor and do better on, because sometimes I was my own worst enemy, and I'm like, you need to be your own best friend, because it's you and me, kid, for the rest of this life. It doesn't matter if I'm married or not. I still have to live with myself every day. So maybe watch what you say to yourself. Or you're like, oh my gosh, you're so stupid. Oh, I can't believe you missed that step in dance class. Or you like, hey, life happens, you missed a dance, it's all good, and don't give it another thought? Or do you constantly dwell on the past and something that you did right? Oh my gosh, I wish I would have said that. Past is over, we can't change that. So I want you to examine how you talk to yourself. Not exercising or eating well or taking good care of ourselves. You know, this body is something we need to take care of. If you love yourself, you're going to eat right. You're going to exercise. You're going to do what you need to take, get those 8 hours of sleep so that you love yourself and are taking good care of yourself. Another way that we don't love ourselves is spending time with people that don't treat us well. Got my hair done the other day and was talking to my hairdresser, and we were talking about someone famous who is engaged, and their fiance had a child out of wedlock with another woman. And again, I want to say you can definitely forgive. You know, relationships, something great can come out of this, but if you loved yourself, would you allow someone that you were in a relationship to father a child outside of your relationship? Now, I would say no, that, you know, that to me would be a sign of low self-esteem and that you don't love yourself. And again, you know, I don't know this particular woman that well. You'd have to look at her history. If you have a history of men treating you badly, then to me that's a pattern. And again, there's not to say that forgiveness can happen and some healing can be done, but you know, there's something in you that allows that. And I want to do an entire show on this, and this sometimes is something that gets people upset. But our inner world is reflected in our outer world. Everything that's in your outer world, you have created. You have created. And that's usually something hard for people to imagine because something negative has happened. Oh, there's no way I asked for this or created that. We'll get into that in another episode. But I want you to look at around the company you keep. When you say, oh my gosh, I had this dream, are your friends like, rock on, how can I help? Or do they say, you know what, I think you're too old to do that. Don't think you're pretty enough. Or do they support you? Another way we don't love ourselves is by not accepting who we are. You know what? You are perfect as is. You're a work in progress. When we're babies, think about that. We love, we're perfect, we laugh, we have a good time, because we're at that age yet where the teacher or parents or society can tell us how messed up we are. You know, when I read a lot of self-help books, it's very interesting because a lot of it boils down to not loving ourselves and feeling like we're not good enough, which kind of not good enough, loving yourselves are kind of the same thing. I think are kind of interchangeable. But how many people, when you boil it down, feel like they're not good enough? Accept yourself as you are. You know what? I want to lose 20 pounds, but okay, gonna try. I try my best every day, but what if I can accept myself as I am right now and get comfortable with it, then that's a step in the right direction. Not allowing, another way we don't love ourselves, not allowing love, compliments, and gratitude into our lives. That's something I struggled with. If someone would give me a compliment, I'd be like, oh, no, 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 or I'd brush it off instead of accepting that. So, do you allow people to love yourself, or do you have a wall up? And again, as I mentioned earlier, these are things I've done myself, so I'm really familiar with it, but I want you to examine. Do you have gratitude? Do you let gratitude in your life? You know, that's one small place where people can start if they can just say, I'm really thankful for this. And that's one thing that I believe can truly be life-changing. Another way we don't love ourselves, taking everything so seriously. Again, really this list is based on my life. I used to be very serious and very uptight about things. Life is about having fun. You know what? When you're amused and having fun, I think that again just helps call forth really wonderful things in your life. The night I met my husband, went out, wasn't expecting to meet anyone, and I was out bowling. I'm not very good, but I had fun with it. And I think when you allow that to happen, you allow magic to happen. And finally, a way we don't love ourselves, and I mentioned this earlier, not taking responsibility for our lives and understanding that we create our lives and playing a victim. And again, trust me, I had the victim thing down, and truthfully, I never knew I was a victim until my younger brother said to me, "Oh, you know what? You act like you're a victim all the time." And that was my aha moment. And instead of getting angry, I thought about it. And I examined my life and I said, wow, he's right. And something that I continually do, in little ways playing a victim. I don't want that energy around me anymore. So those are just some things to look at in ways that you have might not be loving yourself. So here's some exercises. One thing that I like to do, again, I hope to have another talk on going with the flow, but I'm about taking action when it's the appropriate time. The point of power is in the present moment. If you want to change your life, do something in the present moment. So here's an exercise you can do. Pick one area in your life where you need to be more loving with yourself. And as I've mentioned, I've always struggled with how my body looks. I'm built like my mom. I've got the arms and I've got the stomach. Even when I was thin, that was how I was built. And I'm never going to change that. And then I heard about Japanese researcher Masaru Emoto, and I'd encourage you, if you haven't seen anything, I believe he was in What the Bleep movie, but he took pictures of the water crystals in various circumstances, after healings, listening to heavy metal music, which I thought was very interesting, and prayers. Our bodies are over 70% water, so there's reason to believe that negative thoughts have physical repercussions. So if you're 70% water, excuse me, what are you saying to yourself? That is going to directly affect your body. So I'd encourage you, look at one area of your life, where can you be more loving to yourself and speak better to yourself. And these are some tips that I do. When I hear myself, and again, you have to be really aware, paying attention to what you're saying. I'll say this really loudly. Take a seat, ego, no room for your false beliefs. And I have to say it that loudly to kind of snap myself out of it. Pick a phrase that makes sense to you. You feel comfortable with, that's going to stop you in that moment and stop that negative thought. Immediately focus on something you love. Since I, again, mentioned struggling with my body, I love my smile and I love my eyes. So instead of the focusing on the stomach and the arms, I focus on my beautiful smile that I believe puts Julia Roberts to shame. Remember other compliments that people have given you. People said to me, a lot recently, wow, your skin's really glowing. So instead of focusing on what I don't like, I focus on those compliments. Now, I'm a firm believer of having a team that can help you out when you're stressed out and feeling down. Pick up that phone. Call that girlfriend, that friend, that mentor if you start to go in a downward spiral. Have you ever been in one of those situations where maybe you're stressed, you're upset about something, and then it's just this. So pick up the phone and do something that allows you to have a support system to talk about that. And I also think getting physical is something that's very helpful. I had my chiropractor say to me, just get up and dance, just shake it, and kind of move that energy, because that negative energy to me is stuck energy. So get that going, get that moving. Go within. I'm a huge fan of meditating, and meditating can be while you're mowing the lawn. Meditating for some people is listening to classical music, but if you go within, listen and find out what's really going on. I had something interesting happen to me. So I was doing my show, Reawaken Your Brilliance, and I had some drama with some guests, and that had never happened before. And I thought, okay, this has happened 3 times in a row, and I'm a little slow. Sometimes I get it on the second signal from the universe, but I thought, okay, there's something here for you, Julie, because again, I create my life, so what is this really about? And so I called someone actually who'd been on the show that I trust, and I said, you're very spiritual, can you maybe give me a different perspective? And so what we ended up talking about, and it was kind of interesting, when we took all these scenarios that happened and kind of boiled them down, it was really a fear I had about something, and I was grateful. I was like, wow, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have had that. But by going within, I was able to figure out, okay, where am I not loving myself, and to let go of that fear. So those are just some things that'll be helpful. Another thing you can do that I love if you don't love yourself, oh, I hated this the first time I did this, is looking into the mirror and saying, I love you. I couldn't do it. I'd look down, I'd look away, you know how when you get really uncomfortable like that? You know, are you holding your breath? I want you to examine what you're doing. And like anything, it'll get easier the more you do it. My chiropractor, Dr. Julie Coraccio, always asks me, whose voice is that? Because again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of times it's a parent, it's society, someone has said to you, you know what, you can't do that, but it's not your voice, it's not your soul, it's not you loving yourself. So sit quietly and ask yourself, whose voice is that? Now, one of the things that I like to say is, you know, if you have someone that you can call when you're in a crisis, be that person that someone can call in a crisis. So pay it forward. When you hear someone being negative about themselves, stop and say, hey, and give them a compliment. And why are you being so unkind to yourself? And point out something about them that you really like and think that is wonderful. Because again, if we are in this world where we're all complimenting everyone, what a great world we would live in. And so that is, I know that I saw that there is someone, okay, who just is giving me a smiley face. Hopefully, I'm sorry everyone, I had wanted to do question and answers, and this is my first Google Plus, and I haven't quite figured it out. I stopped and then stopped the broadcast in the middle, and I'm doing this again, so I apologize for those that are listening if I've repeated something. But that kind of is in a nutshell one of the first ways that you can let go of inner clutter, by loving yourself. And some things to keep in mind. Remember, it's a process. I mean, there are still days that I don't love myself. Again, you know, I really, when I do Reawaken Your Brilliance or working with clients, I try to put myself out there and share my experiences. I'm kind of, I guess, at the age where I don't get as embarrassed as I did in the past, but my hope is, while sharing my experience, that maybe makes you feel less shameful. And if you've experienced that, not knowing, you know, you're not the only one out there. So in this process of loving yourself, be gentle. And don't, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, so don't beat yourself up if you haven't fixed everything. But again, start somewhere. You know, hopefully I've given you enough exercises that will work. Oh, I want to give you another exercise that I really like. This I learned from my mentor, Lisa Transcendence Brown, and she's the one I did the year-long one-on-one mentorship program with. But and again, all these exercises I hate when I first do them, and now I do them regularly and recommend them to people. But she had me close my eyes, and one of the reasons you do that is to shut off your ego, because ego wants to wreak havoc. Your ego's going to be the one like, man, you can't do it. So close your eyes, put your hand over your heart, and sit quietly for a moment and say you are beautiful, or ask yourself something, what is it that you really want, and see where you feel uncomfortable. It's interesting, she had me do an exercise. I had to go, you're beautiful, you're funny, like about 10 different things, and I had to see, where am I feeling a little uncomfortable? And if you ever need a decision to make, that's the surest way. Close the eyes, shut down the ego, take a couple of deep breaths, and ask yourself, and put your hand over your heart, because your heart, your soul, knows exactly what you need. And as I mentioned earlier, you have all the answers that you have inside. So this is my first episode of Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out, Loving Yourself. I hope that you have learned something from it. All right, everyone, go out and clear some clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire.
Are you overwhelmed by clutter? Do you feel stuck in life? Are you ready to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire? Individual coaching and our unique clutter-free living mastermind support people in becoming free, moving forward, and achieving success. Learn more at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. Thanks for tuning in to Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out. Sign up for our newsletter and receive a free copy of 10 clutter-free living tips. Ready to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire? Learn about Julie's coaching, ebooks, online monthly decluttering classes, how to organize your life, office hours, and her unique clutter-free living mastermind at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. You can also watch all episodes on YouTube or download on iTunes and more. Join us next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.